What if Luffy awakened Gear 6 at Marineford? Yes, you heard that right. It's not Gear 4, it's not Gear 5, it's Gear 6. And it's not just any Gear 6, it's full Toon Force. If Gear 5 already turned Luffy into the Sun God Nika with the freedom to fight and the Toon Force we all love, then what would Gear 6 be? I think it would probably be total freedom over the narrative script. I'm rewriting it. Think about it with me. Marineford, the peak of despair. The moment when our hero, the future Pirate King, saw his world collapse. It's the perfect setting for an awakening that goes beyond logic. But before we dive into this sea of theories, you already know the drill. Leave a huge like to strengthen our crew, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss any of the madness we create here. Let's go to the video. To understand the impact of Gear 6, we need to remember where Luffy was at that moment. Marineford wasn't a fight, it was a massacre. The Navy, with its 3 admirals, Aokiji, Kizaru, and Akainu, plus the power of the Shichibukai and the legendary Garp and Sengoku, was ready to crush the Whitebeard pirates. And in the middle of that chaos, who was there? Our Luffy, who had just invaded Impel Down. The Luffy of that time was strong, yes, but he was far below the level of the admirals. He used Gear 2 and Gear 3 to their absolute limits, but it was like a mosquito trying to knock down a mountain. He could have died 10 times over. His conqueror's haki awakened in a moment of desperation, but it was raw, uncontrollable power. He was there through sheer willpower, through the promise he made to his brother, Ace. We saw Luffy get beaten by everyone. Kizaru kicked him, Aokiji froze him, and Akainu, his magma was the embodiment of inevitability. Luffy was exhausted, wounded, but he did it. He freed Ace. That moment of glory, that embrace between brothers, could have been the happy ending we all want. But One Piece is cruel, my friends. That moment of relief was just preparation for the greatest tragedy. Ace, provoked by Akainu, turns back to fight. And what happens? Akainu targets Luffy, and Ace jumps in front of him, magma fist piercing Ace's chest. I think that's the most painful scene in the entire manga. It's the point of no return. It's at that exact second, with Ace dying in his arms, that we reach our ignition point. Luffy lost everything. He failed. The pain, the shock, the guilt, all of that could have broken him forever. But what if, instead of breaking him, that pain became the catalyst for something even the original Joy Boy never imagined? What if the awakening of the Hito no Mi model Nika was forced to a level that transcends Gear 5? Gear 5 is the awakening of the fruit, the manifestation of Nika. Gear 6 in this what if might be the awakening of Nika's will. The will to laugh in the face of tragedy, to turn pain into a joke, to deny the reality that hurts you. It's Toon Force taken to the extreme, where imagination doesn't just affect the environment, but the story itself. Ace is falling. Blood is pouring out. Luffy screams. But wait! In our alternate universe, something changes. Luffy's scream isn't just pain, it's a scream that cracks the screen. Literally, the scene, once serious and dramatic, suddenly gains a thick black outline, as if a cartoonist just drew the border of the manga panel. Luffy's body starts to glow, but it's not the pure white of Gear 5, it's a pulsing rainbow. His hair, instead of white, becomes a gradient of primary colors. His eyes, once full of tears, turn into colorful spirals. And the sound? It's not the drums of liberation. It's a cartoon laugh, a loud, exaggerated ha ha ha, echoing across all of Marineford. I think Gear 6 full Toon Force would manifest like this, as a total rejection of seriousness. Luffy isn't just turning the environment into rubber anymore, he's turning physics itself into rubber. Ace, who was dying, suddenly has the hole in his chest turned into a sticker. Yes, a giant Band-Aid sticker with a heart drawn on it. The blood stops flowing and turns into red confetti floating in the air. Ace blinks confused, and Luffy, now in Gear 6, points at him with a grin stretching from ear to ear. The characters' reactions would be priceless. Akainu, who was about to deliver the final blow, freezes mid-motion. He looks at his magma fist, which is now dripping like ice cream on a hot day. The Admiral, the embodiment of absolute justice, is covered in confetti with a melting fist. Garp, who was crying, suddenly starts laughing. Loud, uncontrollable laughter, because he would probably recognize Nika's madness at a level even he never expected. Sengoku, the Buddha, has that "what is happening here" face, and his beard suddenly turns into springs that bounce with every heartbeat. Gear 6 full Toon Force could even manipulate colors. Marineford, once drenched in gray and red blood, suddenly explodes into vibrant colors. The sky turns lemon yellow, the sea becomes eggplant purple, and the Navy uniforms get pink polka dots. It's visual chaos, and full Toon Force doesn't stop there. Luffy in Gear 6 looks straight at the camera. Yes, he breaks the fourth wall and says, "Hey, editor, zoom in on Akainu's face. He's mad." And we see Akainu's face with his eyes popping out, his jaw dropping to the floor, and steam coming out of his ears, just like in classic cartoons. That's the essence of Gear 6, denying tragedy through comedy. Luffy isn't fighting to win anymore. He's fighting to have fun, and by doing doing that, he nullifies the seriousness and power of his enemies. Ace's pain was the trigger, but Nika's laughter is the cure. Now, the part everyone was waiting for, the confrontation. Akainu, furious at the insult, attacks again. He launches a gigantic magma fist toward Luffy, but Luffy, in Gear 6, doesn't dodge. He simply pulls out a giant pencil that appears out of nowhere and draws a door in midair. Akainu's magma fist, instead of hitting Luffy, goes through the drawn door and comes out the other side of the screen, hitting a Navy ship that was outside the panel. The ship explodes, but the explosion is just a black smoke cloud shaped like a skull, which fades away with a comical poof. It would be the perfect nullification of Akainu's power. Magma, absolute destruction, is turned into red paint that Luffy uses to draw a ridiculous mustache on the Admiral's face. Akainu tries to scream, but his mouth is stitched shut with cartoon sewing lines. Luffy, laughing hysterically, grabs Akainu, now flattened like a pancake, and uses him like a frisbee, throwing him straight at Aokiji. Aokiji, who was preparing to freeze Luffy, gets hit by Pancake Akainu, and both crash to the ground with a clattering sound like plates smashing together. Aokiji tries to use his ice, but Gear 6 has the answer. Luffy points at the ice and shouts, "Strawberry ice cream!" And the ice turns into a massive sundae with strawberry syrup and a cherry on top. Aokiji, who's actually a pretty chill guy deep down, might not resist and starts licking the ice cream, completely forgetting the fight. And Kizaru? Oh, Kizaru, the fastest man alive, light itself. He fires a laser attack, but Luffy, in Gear 6, pulls out a pocket mirror that appears out of nowhere and reflects the laser. But not a normal reflection. The laser bounces back and turns Kizaru into a camera flash. Kizaru gets trapped inside a giant floating photograph. He's stuck there with a oops got caught pose, while Luffy grabs a marker and draws ridiculous sunglasses on the photo. Probably, with his laid-back personality, Kizaru would actually find the situation hilarious, even while trapped. Total chaos. The Marines try to shoot, but the bullets turn into soap bubbles that float harmlessly away. Cannons fire, but the cannonballs turn into bowling balls that knock down the Marines themselves in a perfect comedic strike. Whitebeard, who was fighting valiantly, stops and watches. He sees his son, the boy he barely knew, turning war into an amusement park. Could his illness, which was killing him, be cured by Toon Force? Luffy, seeing Whitebeard cough, pulls out a giant vacuum cleaner and sucks the disease right out of the Yonko's body. Whitebeard feels revitalized, and his once hoarse laugh returns as the roar of an emperor. He looks at Luffy and says, "You're an interesting kid, Mugiwara." And Luffy replies, "I'm the guy who's gonna give you a party hat." And a massive party hat appears on Whitebeard's head. Garp, seeing his grandson in Gear 6, would be the only one who truly understands how serious this is. He knows full Toon Force isn't just power, it's the denial of authority itself. Luffy isn't just fighting the Navy, he's fighting the Navy's logic. Garp throws a punch at Luffy, but his legendary Fist of Love turns into a giant, spring-loaded boxing glove that snaps back and punches Garp himself in the face, sending him spinning through the air like a top. It's Toon Force saying, "There are no more rules, Grandpa." The Navy is in panic. They can't fight something that doesn't make sense. Gear 6 is the ultimate weapon against absolute justice, because absolute justice depends on order and logic. And Luffy, in Gear 6, is comedic chaos incarnate. Back to the chaos. We left off with Akainu turned into a pancake and Aokiji licking ice cream. But what about Kizaru? He was trapped inside the photo, right? I think Luffy's full Toon Force wouldn't leave him alone for long. Luffy, in Gear 6, looks at Kizaru's photo and says, "This picture's kind of boring, huh?" He grabs a giant stamp that says "Flash Sale" and slams it onto Kizaru's forehead inside the photo. Kizaru, trapped in the picture, actually feels the pressure of the stamp, and his usual oops expression turns into "ow, that hurts." Aokiji, who is distracted by the ice cream, notices what's going on. He tries to pull himself together, but Luffy pulls out a giant can of whipped cream and sprays Aokiji from head to toe. The Admiral of Ice is now a gigantic birthday cake. Aokiji, muffled by whipped cream, "Mugiwara, this isn't fair. It would be a more honorable fight if you used raw strength." Luffy, laughing, "But raw strength is boring. Fun is justice." And he tosses a cherry onto Aokiji's head. Akainu, still flattened, tries to crawl away. He's furious, and his rage would probably make his magma explode. But Luffy pulls out a giant steamroller from nowhere and rolls over Akainu again. The Admiral becomes thinner than paper, his silhouette stamped into the ground. Luffy picks up Paper Akainu and folds him into a paper airplane. He blows on it, and the plane flies straight towards Sengoku. Sengoku, the Buddha, tries to catch it, but it explodes into a cloud of glitter. Sengoku, desperately, "Garp, do something!" "What is this power?" Garp, laughing, "It's freedom, Sengoku! It's Nika! He's rewriting our reality!" reality. Gear 6 could even manipulate sound. Luffy grabs a giant megaphone and shouts, "Everybody dance!" And all the Marines, even the Vice Admirals, start doing a ridiculous choreography. It's dance chaos. The dancing chaos is suddenly interrupted by a clown horn sound. Luffy, with a clown nose that pops onto his face, laughs so hard that his laughter creates comedic shockwaves, sending Marines flying. Whitebeard, watching all this, would be amazed by Luffy's ability to turn war into a joke. He might even release a comedic tremor that makes Navy ships wobble like rubber duckies. Full Toon Force is the annihilation of seriousness. Luffy isn't fighting the Navy anymore, he's fighting the very concept of war. And he's winning with the most powerful weapon of all, laughter. Back to the rescue. Ace is healed, and the two brothers are ready to escape. But Whitebeard's crew, they're in shock. Marco the Phoenix would be the first to understand. He looks at Luffy and says, "That kid, he's Nika!" Jozu the Diamond might try to help, but Luffy pulls out a giant magnet and drags all the Marines away from them. The Marines get stuck to the magnet, forming a massive ball of human meat. And the Shichibukai, what would they do? Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman, would probably get bored. He might even sheath his sword and say, "This fight is no longer interesting." Doflamingo, the Joker, on the other hand, would be fascinated. He'd see Gear 6 as the ultimate power. He might even try to ally himself with Luffy, but Luffy sprays Doflamingo in the face with a giant pepper spray. Doflamingo screaming, "Mugiwara, you'll regret this." Luffy laughing, "No, I won't. I drew a huge smile on your face." And Doflamingo, furious, is stuck with a massive forced grin. The escape. Luffy and Ace sail away at full speed on a paper ship, but Whitebeard, he can't leave. He has to put on his final show. Whitebeard, laughing, "I am Whitebeard, and I am the king of the pirates." He uses his power to crack the air itself, but Luffy pulls out a giant paintbrush and paints the cracked air with a rainbow. Whitebeard, seeing his power turned into art, would understand Luffy's message better than anyone. Life is a joke and we have to laugh at it. Then comes Blackbeard's arrival. He emerges from the black hole Luffy created. Furious, he tries to use his power to absorb the light, but Luffy pulls out a giant helium balloon and inflates Blackbeard. Blackbeard, with a high-pitched helium voice, "Say ha ha ha, I'm Blackbeard." Luffy, laughing, "You're a balloon, Blackbeard." And he lets go, sending Blackbeard floating up into the sky. Shanks, watching Blackbeard drift away, might say, "Well, looks like the party's over." And he uses his Conqueror's Haki to knock all the Marines unconscious. Luffy and Ace, aboard the paper ship, disappear over the horizon, leaving behind a battlefield turned into a circus. The Navy is humiliated. The world government is ridiculed, and Luffy, the future pirate king, proves that freedom is the greatest weapon of all. Wow, what a trip, crew. Gear 6, full Toon Force at Marineford would be a total game changer. The impact on the world of One Piece would be catastrophic for the Navy and the world government. The Navy, which relied on its image of strength and justice, would be turned into a circus. Absolute justice would be mocked by absolute comedy. Akainu, the symbol of the Navy, turned into a pancake. Their credibility would drop to zero. The world government would probably try to cover it up, but how do you hide an admiral turned into ice cream? The news would spread like wildfire, and Luffy, already a problem, would become their worst nightmare. His bounty would be the highest in history, not because he's strong, but because he's unpredictable. How do you fight someone who can rewrite reality with a pencil? The only answer might be surrender. And Luffy's future? He's now a force of nature. He no longer needs Gear 2, 3, 4, or 5. Gear 6 is total freedom. He can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. The journey to Raftel would be faster and way more fun. What do you think? Would Gear 6 have saved Ace? Could Whitebeard have lived longer? Would Blackbeard have been defeated before he even began? Leave your opinions in the comments. And that's it, crew. I hope you enjoyed this insane trip through the world of What If. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Thanks. See you later, and until the next adventure.